ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start here shortly.
Like, you know, Cal, we're going to have to at some point get a little serious here.
Hey everyone, welcome to our May school board meeting.
Really nice, but we light.
I'd like to call this meeting to order.
6 years ago, and that it's worth a lot more. We don't want to be
I'll motion that we.
Approve the agenda, John?
Yeah, I'll motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Larson will give the invocation and I'll lead us in the pledge if everyone can please stand. Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to be here this evening. We're grateful for those who are in attendance, for their interest in our children and in our district. We are grateful for those in our district in the administration level and for all of their efforts. And we're grateful for the teachers and all of those employees. And most of all, we're grateful for the children and ask for blessing upon them, that their needs, in as much as we can take care of them, that we can do so and fulfill their needs. We ask thee to help us to have a good meeting this evening, that we'll be able to understand the issues, be able to intelligently discuss them and make acceptable decisions that will be profitable for our district and all of its stakeholders and shareholders. We ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, item 3.2, recognition of Sholo High School wrestling team, all-state choir, robotics, and high school stunt and cheer team.
So the room is full of state champions, national champions, and world competition competitors, and we're glad to have you all here tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll go ahead and bring up the robotics team first. If the coaches want to bring them up, or however you organize that.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if they're going to say this when I don't want to steal all their thunder, but I do want to say that, to brag just for a second, the team that won what they're going to talk about here scored more points than every team represented by a school district that'll be left unknown. One of our competitors outscored every one of their teams combined.
Nice.
All right, I'm Cheyenne McKinley. I'm the high school's president for our Cougar Pride robotics team. So this year we managed to start 7 new robotics teams. So we now cover students from 3rd grade all the way up to graduation. In robotics, we teach multiple skills, life skills. So part of the high school team's thing, we write resumes, we interview, and then we give them feedback on what they can change. So that gives them job opportunities. We also work with machining mills and lathes, which gives them experience in that field if they want to go that way. We work with programming, CAD, and all of that, so they get everything. Here's our school team, and they'll tell you a little about what they did this year, and I'll let Kyler take it from here.
Yeah, thank you, Cheyenne. I'd like to say thank you for letting us come to speak to you today. And I'll be talking to you about our class system that we established this year. So my name is Kyler Owens. I'm the vice president of our club. So in our class system, we're offering a 3-year program where year 1, which we just barely started this year, is where you're getting all your basic training, anywhere from Asgard's 3 laws of robotics to a license in SolidWorks, which is a computer-aided drafting program, which is industry used. So this class has been really great so far, and the opportunities it gives students, which is why we started it. So one, for students who weren't able to join our after-school program, how we can still kind of cover them in our umbrella of influence, so to speak, but also for our own members to kind of get a little more training and practice their skills in the classroom as well as after school. So what we accomplished this year is we actually went to a competition in EAC, which was kind of just like a STEM day event, but we had we built mousetrap cars was our main thing, and they competed in both distance and speed races. And one of our speed teams actually placed second overall, which I believe. So this is our car right here. So it's built mainly out of balsa wood, and it actually did really well. So we were happy with this.
How far can it go?
I think it was about 15 feet, and it was just whoever crossed the finish line the fastest. So, one of the other accomplishments we had this year was the World's Invite, which was the main reason why we're here to talk to you guys tonight. So with that robot, we actually competed twice, once in the Valley, and then once on, it was the Navajo, the Navajo Showcase, I believe is what it was. It was a virtual event, but we were able to place first overall in the skills category, which is basically you have a field set, or everyone has the same field in their own shop set up, and it's a point battle to see whoever can score the most in the same amount of time. So is the robot? Yep, right. Yep. So this is the robot, and we are planning on attending Worlds next week. So we're really excited for that, and it's.
You get to go in person?
It's also virtual, unfortunately, but.
How many teams are competing? You know?
300.
Wow.
Wow. That's amazing.
So it's a little bit of a bigger field than, but we love the challenge and we're excited for it. So how we plan to grow this class is, I mentioned it was a 3-year program. So every year we're going to add one more class to the system, because to take like year 2 and 3, you have to have the prereqs. So year 2 is going to be a little bit more advanced training. We're going to go over some different topics, but it's also going to be a little more project orientated. So these were the projects we did this year, and we're hoping to expand that to a little bit bigger and better project to give students that experience. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jacob to give his experience in the class. So, thank you.
Yeah, I had never done anything involving STEM before this class, and both my parents work in healthcare, so I really had no idea what it would entail. And I think it's opened up a lot of new avenues for me. I want to go into computer science now, and I think it's really, I don't know, it's opened up a lot, and it's also been very important because I've played sports before, but I've never worked project-oriented teamwork, and I think that was huge because I'd never done it before, and I wasn't very good at the beginning of the year at being very good on teamwork, but I think we've all gotten a lot better, and yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Trevor Owens, and this year I was the mentor for one of the junior high teams, and like this year, they didn't necessarily place the highest, but they still did pretty good. Like they learned a ton of skills on how to build the robot. They also like learned how to use like angle grinders, like to grind most of their metal, because like all their custom metal parts are like grinded, and I think a lot of things they learned is like mainly how to work together, because like before, they're all pretty good at like going off and working on their own set of projects, but later on like they were able to come together and like build together like the robot. Like that wasn't the junior high's team, like their robot's right there, but still did pretty good. So they competed in like the same competition in the Valley, and one of our teams placed in the top 10 or 11, and the other one came a little bit behind that. So I'm going to turn this over to Levi to talk about his experience.
He needs more hands.
Right.
A robot for that?
Maybe one day.
So my name's Levi Owens, and I think this year was a pretty good year for robotics, for me at least, because this year I've learned a lot more about how to work together as a team and, like Trevor said, how to use some more power tools. And I like probably putting or building the robot together, because before I was pretty good at just doing it myself, but I learned how to build it together and see real quick. And so at the beginning of the year, we had sort of an idea of the robot we wanted to build, but then about halfway through it didn't work, so we had to build a different design. And it was kind of hard because we put a lot of work into the other one and it didn't work. But yeah, it's taught me to work a lot harder than
Trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have enough room to show us this robot, how they work? Or do you want to wait till the end?
I'll just do this.
Can I get it on TV? There we go. Do you want to do it at the end? Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Well, hello. My name is Tiffany McKinley, and I mentor the 3rd and 4th graders. Little kids right here. I originally started helping this team at the beginning of the year because I used to come in for the robotics class to work on the robot, and they were struggling one day, so I decided to help them, and I realized that I could have a big impact on their life. So I try and convince G. I think I succeeded in trying to start this team. At first, when we started, we only had 2 kids. It has now grown to 10. When they first started, they didn't really know a lot about robotics or any skills on how to properly build a robot, but I think they learned a lot about how to build it and how to properly communicate with each other. Because at their age, they don't really work together as well. They think they can do it more on their own. Then they realize they actually need a team. So in the beginning, I just had them working in teams of 2, and then I did it to 4, and then 6, and then I had them working together. And it works so far. I believe one of the biggest skills I taught them is ability to communicate with each other. And then this, among many other skills they gain, is, I think, is the reason they won 3rd at state.
Awesome.
Okay, so this is Elijah, Brody, and Brienne, and they're gonna.
So this is our first year of robotics. We've competed in 3 competitions. The first one we didn't do that good. Same with the second, but then we decided to make a whole different robot. So that's how we placed 3rd in state.
So it was really hard for us at the beginning because we didn't know what to do, but then our mentors started to help us and we learned a lot and we started to get the point and we built our robot, but then we had to take it apart because it wasn't good enough. And then so we built this robot in about, I think, was it 2 or 1 week? 2 weeks. Yeah, about 2 weeks. And it was really stressful, but I think we all learned a lot from that.
So the robot wasn't really done on time before we took it apart, so we had to work extra time except for 2 weeks. So we took it apart and we did it, and that did it much better.
Are you guys working after school? Is it an after school program?
And yeah.
On Fridays?
What we're probably mostly proud of is, like, what I meant to say is we probably made this team because we want that to make the world a better place.
Thanks, guys.
So we just want to thank you guys a lot for having us come out and talk about this, because this is something that actually means a lot to a lot of us, and it plays a big role in our lives. And it's nice to see that our community cares about what we do and they support us in what we do. So this was a lot of hard work and a lot of time and effort in our parts to put in to mentor these kids while also holding our own club robotics after school. And that's something that we realized we needed to do to incorporate younger kids into what we do and have them come up in what we do and learn many things about life and things that they never knew before. On top of the 7 teams that we created, taking 3rd in state for the littles and all of that stuff, we actually got a job offer from Torion, creating squares, just like squares for their numbering out in their lots and everything like that. So we are now going to be doing that for them. And we also, if you guys watched the Mary Poppins play, the table, how the legs went out and then came back up, that was also something we built as a robotics team for them. So we love this, robotics. It's like a family. We all feel so close to each other, and we help all of us help each other out and everything like that. And it's just amazing to have that feeling of a home away from home type thing, and create new friends that you never thought you'd be friends with. So thank you guys for letting us speak here.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How are you guys? Can people donate their tax credit money to your program?
Yes.
Okay. Who would that go to?
Just to the district office.
For-
You just
They were bringing in
tax
grand.
credit form, you just write in place robotics.
Robotic.
It goes right into our.
So I think we're actually going to drive the robots around a little bit and show you guys what they do.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
Hey, before you guys go crazy and we don't gonna talk to you again, I especially want to talk to you guys. Do you guys? Hey. I just want to ask you a question. Do you guys feel better about yourselves now than you did before you started? That's success.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you, and I'm grateful for you guys who are the instructors. And for those of you who are mentors, that's pretty cool. At your age, to be a mentor is pretty awesome. I'm proud of you guys.
Stacy, can we introduce the mentors here? These guys, I'm sure, donate a lot of their time and energy.
Can you
So
introduce you guys?
I'd like to know who they are.
So the one right there, that's Corey Gillespie. He's one of the math teachers at the school. He also does a robotics class. All 3 of those are Cosgraves. We got Kyle, Aaron, and Dylan. They all donate their time and everything. They're also starting a business, so it's very hard for them to give time, but they always make time for us.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
Let them go.
Who's going to go first?
So we actually have 2 drivers on this team. I'm one of them. Brian is the second driver. So what we're mostly meant to do is have drivers and staff them. Well, I guess so.
Look at. Good job. Oh, good job. Nice.
We think girls are better drivers. So.
That's impressive. Good job. Thank you.
And in their first competition, they actually won the Energy Award because they were symptom.
Oh, good.
And then in their second one, they actually won the Big Award.
Great.
Good job.
Good job. Congratulations.
The big one is a dodgeball machine, so you.
Yeah,
What
that
happened
one.
with the t-shirt launcher? Is that, how's that going?
They can throw that.
So this robot here, we're not going to drive because as of Saturday, it has to pass a world inspection, and if we climb it into a table, we're disqualified. So we'll drive it next week. They're going to go to a world competition, but they're going to drive this big one.
It works.
Oh, you need 5 minutes? That's what I got word for.
You need 5 minutes?
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, you might have to tell us about
Windows
that.
is now updated.
Yeah, you might have to shoot those balls out from the back of the room.
So I'll come stand by the speakers. So this robot was actually built last year before COVID hit. Not last year, 2 years ago?
Last year.
Oh, last year before COVID hit. We worked on it. I don't think we hit all 6 weeks, but we built that robot in 8.5 weeks. Yeah, it was on the trailer on Tuesday when we got that call saying that we were no longer competing because of COVID. And so it's here, you can explain what it does.
So as you can see, the balls that are in the like chamber thingy, the shooter, well, yeah. It actually picks up balls. It goes up to them, and we have a rubber shaft thing on the bottom that spins to pick up the balls, and then it picks them up and it shoots them out the top, and it actually can rotate, and so that it can make it. We had 3 different. We had a big rectangle, a little circle behind it, and then a square at the bottom. If you made it into the big rectangle, it was 2 points. If you made it into the circle behind it, it was 3 points. So just depending on your aim and how good you were, depending on the points you got. It also has an arm on it. At the end of the competition, you were to drive over to a hanger thing and hang with your arm completely balanced, completely level. If you were to hang completely balanced and level, you gained how many? 30 extra points for yours. So we actually got it to where it was able to do that. And also, if someone else was already hanging, you had to make it to where your robot could hang and level the bar out as well. So we actually made it to where it was able to roll back and forth on the bar to level out the bar. So, yeah. Yep, it's an undefeated robot. For sure.
That's awesome.
So robot itself gives off an internet signal, which will be sometimes.
I think you're stalling. You're stalling to make this happen, aren't you? I know you.
That's fast. Wow.
Yeah, don't hit the world robot.
Yeah.
Does someone want to pick the world robot up?
Yeah, the world robot should be
right at me.
in the trailer.
So that's our full part right there. You can see there's signals in between those. So we'll actually move back and forth, and that's how we were able to play.
So does it throw as hard as your t-shirt machine?
I hope not. It's going to go through the side of the building.
Oh, yeah, I'll try.
Wow, good job, Tyler.
That's awesome.
Awesome. You guys fabricate all that?
Yes.
Yeah? That's awesome.
That is amazing.
Congratulations. Good luck next week.
Yeah, good luck. That's
Let
great.
us know how you do. And can you send us a link to watch you if it's virtual? maybe?
Yes, I got it all this afternoon. I will get that sent out.
Congratulations. You guys want to stand by your robots for a picture? Can you guys come over here? Coaches, do you want to be in it? Come on, get in the picture.
However.
You're going to be in it.
Look at me here. Okay, look right here. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. Thank you.
In the wrestling team?
So,
Yeah, this program 3 years?
what's up?
This program 3 years or?
Yeah, actually, this is the first year as an official class.
They're not here, Shen.
Corey, this is the first year as an official robotics class, right, at the high school?
And robotics class, yes. We've done the FRC for 2 years now, but the class and all the other 17.
Perfect. If you'll get the link for that, if we're actually able to watch it, we'll put it on our website so that people could.
Dr. Taylor, take care of it from there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Dr. Taylor, is this part of your CT program? Yep.
Mr. Nicholas, were you going to share some words about our stunt team in wrestling?
Oh, they forgot one of their.
Did they forget their world robot?
No. I want to see that one.
Mousetrap
one.
robot.
I know. It's probably a trap.
Yeah, I'm not touching it.
Careful, Dave.
It's a trap. Be careful, Dave.
Put your finger.
Wait, what is this? This smells scary. So, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to just recognize I think we recognized the stunt team at the last board meeting or one before that for their state title that they got. Since then, they submitted a routine that they did virtually, and were able to stunt. The cheer team won a third place award at the national event that they submitted that to, and the stunt team actually won the national title in the national event that they submitted that to. So I want to congratulate them and appreciate all the hard work and efforts that goes into that the stunt team, the cheer teams. And also, I don't know if we have the academic team here or is Tanya here. So I think academic also got recognized in the last meeting too. But since then, they did again. They competed at the national level, and again it was a virtual type of thing. But they took fourth place at the national level. So that was pretty exciting for them. And I'm sorry I don't have all the names and what awards they got here for you tonight. But and then I wanted to recognize it's kind of a busy night. We got a lot of things going on at the school. Some of the kids couldn't make it, but we want to recognize our wrestling team and some of the kids that placed in the wrestling state playoffs or state competitions this last month. And Andy Wilhelm both took third place in the state competition. A couple other wrestlers went down, Hunter Casey and Dylan Hewitt and Logan Hanchett also took a fourth place over there. And a kid named Cole Housley know if you know that name or not, but he took the state championship in the 113 weight class. So congratulations to those guys. He had to work tonight. So that shows you where his priorities are. Right? But and then also we had, for the first time ever in Cholo's history, we had a female wrestler compete in the female. The AIA is going pretty big with female wrestling right now. We had a female wrestler that competed in the state wrestling championship brackets, Sedona Rodriguez. So appreciate her being kind of groundbreaker, rule breaker, or one of those kind of things.
Right, ceiling breaker.
Trendsetter.
So was she wrestling against boys, or is this a girls?
Yeah, they have a total separate girls division now. So
great.
So she
I was not aware of that.
Not only was she the first girl from Sholo to wrestle in the state tournament, she was the first one to win a match in the state tournament. She beat a girl from Castile, I believe.
Yeah.
Castile has a really legitimate female wrestling team, and she won her first match against them, which was fantastic.
Is our wrestling coach coaching both of those teams?
Yes.
The female and the male teams?
Yeah, that's the way it works right now for most of the schools.
Okay.
There are some that are maybe they're getting more and more female wrestlers to form kind of like a whole team, that they'll kind of start separating out some of the coaches and specific and stuff. But so anyway, we appreciate them. Appreciate Coach Reed stepping in there for a couple of years and doing a good job with the wrestling program. And there's a little bit more to come on that a little later, I guess. But and then I do want to turn the time over to I think Cynthia is here. You want to talk about the All-State Choir? Oh, Cynthia Whipple will talk about the All-State Choir.
Thanks, Mr. Nicholas. Thank you.
So we had 2 students this year who qualified for All-State. Josh Kittle is unable to be here. He placed out of 50 bases in the state of Arizona from 200 guys auditioning. He placed 42nd in the state. And then out of over 200 altos auditioning as well, Madison placed 8th in the state. So we would like to recognize our 2 choir state champions. These kids have worked hard over the last 4 years. Both of them are seniors, and we're very proud of them in the way that they've represented the program. And Madison was able to participate in the virtual festival, and she represented Sholo High School very well. And we're grateful for her for submitting her video and being a part of that. It was all virtual again this year, but we're very proud of these kids and the experience. And she could probably share a little more with you about it and just what she gained out of it.
So it was a little bit different, like she said, because it was virtual. But we got to have some really cool like conductors and guest speakers because it was virtual, and so I feel like got a little bit more opportunity that way. But I feel like I learned a lot and grew as a musician, but also just it was cool to see a choir come together virtually. So yeah, that was something new that I'd never seen before.
Congratulations.
Thank you. These kids have to pass a musicianship test, which is sight reading, and then they also have to sing a solo for judges. So I don't know if any of you have ever done sight reading before, but looking at that music and you only have 30 seconds to study it and then sing it, it's pretty challenging, even for me. So I'm very proud of them. She had a very high score, and anyway, they're great kids, so thank you.
Thank you.
I haven't had a chance to hear Madison sing. Phenomenal. One of the few times when I've heard the national anthem that it gave me chills, and it was her singing it. So if you get a chance to hear her sing, it's well worth it. We won't put you on the spot.
How we're going to put her in
I was going to I was going to ask you to sing just a little bit of something for us. I'm also interested. What are you going to do when you graduate? What are your plans?
I'm actually gonna go to BYU Provo.
Okay.
So
Are you going to pursue music?
not as a major. I'll probably look into joining a choir, but I don't think I'll major in music.
Become a doctor?
Actually, that's what I want to go into medicine. Actually,
Are you okay if I ask you just to sing them, just like 4 or 5 words? You don't count right now.
Or just do this. Yeah, do the one you and your dad wrote.
If it's a bother, I don't want to put you on that big a spot.
Beginning of
Can you sing what you sang at the competition?
That one is different, and I don't know.
It's just the alto part, so it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. if she did
How
that.
about Happy Birthday?
I guess I could sing. I could sing the national anthem.
Yeah.
Go for it.
What's
Okay.
it supposed to sound like?
Sorry, I'm not prepared. So we'll see how this goes. Okay. Hold on, I have to get a pitch one. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we walked were so gallantly gleaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Very good. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That was
Congratulations.
Thanks for asking, John.
beautiful. Thanks for bullying her on TV
Sorry.
to sing on the spot.
Give her
Madison,
plenty
thank
of
you.
chances to get out of it.
That's her dad, too. Are we, anyone else?
I think that's it.
Okay. Item 3.3, recognition of legendary staff members.
Madam President, members of the board, if you would like to go out front, that would be wonderful. And Mrs. Hall is going to come up and
I feel like we should sing, but you do not want us to do that. All right. I do not believe anyone has worked harder or more tirelessly this year than our school health techs have. Miss Bridget is our beloved health tech at Whipple Ranch. She has had the difficult task of evaluating students and staff for COVID symptoms, testing those that have symptoms, completing mandatory reporting, and continually reiterating our COVID mitigation plan to everyone. And she did this all without complaining, while simultaneously giving out masks, endlessly bandaging scrapes and scratches, clipping deadly hangnails, administering medications, continually finding dry, warm clothes for wet kids to wear, and most importantly, securing freshly pulled teeth into coveted little tooth necklaces so they could be safely preserved for the tooth fairy. Miss Bridget is a favorite at Whipple Ranch, and just this week I had a teacher say to me, "She must be the best school health tech around because my kids are creating illnesses so they can go see her." Maybe it's her inviting office that's full of stuffed animals and cheery bulletin boards, or maybe it's her comfy beds that are covered in soft blankets that she's provided herself. I like to think it's her warm and caring attitude that makes every child want to make a stop at Miss Bridget's office. She is known for her kind and positive attitude, her never-ending smile, and her ability to find a task that needs to be done so she can be the one to quickly complete it. She works tirelessly to meet the needs of students and staff. She is considered to have a no-nonsense attitude, and her office is a safe spot for many struggling students. She kindly spends a portion of her own money to buy healthy snacks for any hungry person in the building. Last week, I had a student enter the building crying because she was tired and hungry. I offered her my yummy cheese stick, and she quickly denied and said she likes Miss Bridget's snacks better. I told her I do too. When I reached out to staff to tell me their feelings for Miss Bridget, the following comments were shared with me. I feel like Bridget does the job of 15 people. She is always busy and working hard, but yet always seems to be happy to be doing it. Miss Bridget always has a smile on her face. She works hard to ensure that all of our kids feel loved and safe. I love Miss Bridget. She takes on so many roles to support our students, teachers, and families, and she is always wearing a different hat. Miss Bridget answers our radio calls immediately. She is great with children. She's flexible and very patient with parents. I love how friendly and approachable she is. She never tires of my phone calls or checking on my kiddos. She was always pleasant and happy to be around. She is like our own little ray of sunshine at Whipple Ranch. She is helpful, kind, and patient. Her job had to have been so difficult during COVID. Please let her know that all the teachers appreciate what she does for us and our students day in and day out. We are grateful for the opportunity we have to spend our days with Miss Bridget. She is a big part of what makes Whipple Ranch the best place to be. So we love Miss Bridget.
I don't know what I'm...
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
How adorable I am.
Mrs. Robertson. I might say as they're coming up, Mrs. Robertson is filling in for Mr. Marchant tonight as he is home with his newborn.
Don't worry, he'll be back tomorrow. Don't worry, I'm not worried either. So I have Miss B with me. She, as you can tell, is super thrilled to be recognized. This is definitely in her comfort zone.
Not in my comfort zone at all.
So it's with great pleasure that I get to honor Kathy Bakke, Miss B, at Show Low High School's legendary staff. There are many words that come to mind when I think of Miss B: loving, hardworking, reliable, committed, persistent, creative, kind, organized, and thorough. Miss B is part of the backbone of Show Low High School. She is always willing to help in any way possible. She shares many of her talents with us. One of those words I used to describe her was her creativity. She's extremely creative and creates beautiful boards for our hallway and wins our door decorating contests often. Another word was organized and thorough. She's been able to take the 600 plus Chromebooks that we got this year, and she was able to organize them into carts and get them in teachers' hands. If you ask her where one of those 600 are, she'd tell you where it is now, where it was yesterday, and where it's headed tomorrow. She also knows that all teachers better bring those carts back neat and orderly, or they're going to hear from Miss B. Miss B and I wouldn't have been able to get state testing done without her. There are many days where we have to walk into her and ask her to cover class because we don't have a sub. She says, okay, bring them on in. She's extremely workable and can go with the flow. This last quarter, she's filled in for a credit recovery lab. This has added a lot to her work, and she's done it with a great attitude. And she also is seeing great success with her students. She will step in and whenever asked and take a project on and own it. We are truly appreciative of everything that you do, and it is a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you. Now I'm gonna share. Oh, yes.
Mr. Hall?
Well, Mr. Housley, members of the board, it's an honor for me to recognize tonight Mrs. Corinne Anderson. My connection to Corinne goes way, way back when I was a little boy. Actually, yeah. Well, let me explain. 25 years ago, I taught, I was teaching school in 5th grade, and her mother was a teacher. And her mother was a great inspiration, a mentor for me. And what an honor it is for me tonight to bring Corinne, her daughter, as a legendary staff member of our school district. Corinne has been working as a 3rd grade teacher at Nicholas Homestead, and this year we recognize with COVID and other things that have taken place in our world that we have some reading gaps. Corinne has become our reading specialist this year. So we're so thankful that we have her. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She started her teaching career back in 1999. And at first, her career started in Blue Ridge, where she spent 11 years teaching in Blue Ridge. She saw the light and came to Sholo. Been in Sholo now for 10 years, and we're so thankful that we have this special teacher. Hopefully, we'll never see her leave Sholo. Her teaching experience includes teaching every grade, 1st through 6th grade. She's also taught gifted pull-out programs, English language learners, and like I mentioned, she's now teaching reading intervention at Nicholas Homestead. 2 years ago, in 2019, it was my honor to nominate her as Arizona Rural Schools Association Teacher of the Year. She was a finalist. I think she was that awarded to a gentleman who taught for 50 years?
Yes.
So she was.
God bless his soul.
Yeah. Anybody who can teach for 50 years, I guess, deserves an award like that. But anyways, Corinne was a finalist. She was awarded Navajo County Teacher of the Year, 2009. I was really proud of her. Mrs. Anderson has also coached multiple champion teams in Odyssey of the Mind competitions. It was nice tonight to see the robotics team. We saw years of Mrs. Anderson bringing Odyssey of the Mind students. And that was a joy to see that. She did that both in Blue Ridge and Sholo. This summer, Mrs. Anderson will be teaming up with Heather Douglas from Whipple Ranch, and they'll be serving as trainers for our K-3 summer literacy lab, which you'll find out a little bit more in this meeting. As I observed Mrs. Anderson teach, it is evident that she loves children. She knows how to make connections. I have witnessed firsthand her ability to help children make positive changes in their life. She inspires, she motivates, she uplifts. Mrs. Anderson is very skilled in differentiating her instruction so that every child's need is met. She challenges students to grow. She makes learning relevant. Mrs. Anderson is an excellent leader, a great communicator, a problem solver, and a true professional. Recently, Mrs. Anderson shared with me how she loves seeing children grow. She loves seeing them grow while they are with her, but she also enjoys seeing them as they leave and go into junior high and high school and beyond and become special adults. Mrs. Anderson is always grateful and positive as she serves in the Show Low Unified School District. Nicholas Homestead and the students and staff of Nicholas Homestead Elementary students and staff are fortunate to have such a gifted and special teacher. Please join with me tonight in recognizing her as a legendary staff.
They're big fans of the librarians.
You can come up closer.
I was told they better not.
1, 2, 3.
Ooh,
Got it?
that was synced. We got it at the same time. Woo! That's all small.
I don't know how to act.
It'll be brief.
Okay, item 3.4, Superintendent Report. Mr. Hosley.
Madam President, members of the board, just real quick, a brief report. First, I'll ask Mrs. Cosgray to come up and share just a couple highlights of things that are happening, and then I'll have one other tidbit to share.
Thank you for giving me some time. I wanted to come and give a shout out to a couple of my teachers and their students. In the 5th grade, we have one teacher, Miss Fletcher, and they recently did a service project where they wrote letters of encouragement and sent them to a group called Cloud Covered Streets in the Phoenix area. Cloud Covered Streets, they provide resources for homeless citizens. They give them backpacks full of food, clothes, shoes, that kind of thing. And then they put the letter of encouragement in the backpack. And they actually got a shout out from Cloud Covered Streets founder on Facebook. Lots of great things from there. In the 4th grade, Mrs. Ferreter's class did a 3-week food drive. They wanted to do a service project. And they looked around and, were questioning, who's getting COVID funds to help them with their food programs. And they discovered that everyone except for Meals on Wheels was getting a good amount of money. So they did a food drive, and over 3 weeks, they collected over 1,800 food items, filled the back of Mrs. Ferreter's Jeep 4 times, and were able to deliver that food to Meals on Wheels in the Show Low area. So I thought that was awesome. On top of that, because that wasn't enough for them, they also reached out to Lowe's and wanted to do some improvement on our landscaping and had 2 apple trees donated, which we had planted on our campus just this week. I wanted to give them a big shout out and say thank you to them and make sure you are aware of those great things that they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Good for them.
Back to the kids.
Thank you.
You have connections there?
Oh, yeah.
I did promise apple pie down the road. It'll be a while.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to just make sure everyone is aware of, I know everyone is, tomorrow we have our all-staff celebration. It's going to be fun. We got games, live band. We've got some recognitions to do for staff. And someone said that there'll be a few people in a dunk tank. That, if you want to volunteer, you're certainly welcome to take up some time in the dunk tank.
I'm working.
Oh, God.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But we'll be there. It'll be a lot of fun. Some food, fun, games, chance to just let our hair down a little bit after what has proved to be a very long school year. As we wind up in the next couple of weeks, it's going to be exciting. So
Yeah, I wouldn't even be good for that whole thing if you're letting your hair down. I'm not qualified.
You let it all out.
I'm not qualified to have fun at that.
I thought I heard a commercial that Sholo Ford has helped sponsor the event. Is that true?
Have we got? Yeah. They're sponsoring. Oh, go ahead.
They're the ones who are bringing.
Awesome. Just thank you and shout out to Sholo Ford. That's awesome that
I
they're
wanna-
doing that.
Jamie and a committee of, Jamie's led a committee through the development and planning of this. And it should be a lot of fun,
Cool. Great. Thank you. Thanks, Amy.
minus the dunk tank.
Shad's first on the book. Yeah.
No.
No? Okay. Item 3.5, call to the audience. Anyone, Brandy? No. Item 3.6, future board agenda items. Anyone? Brand?
Yeah, I have a couple actually. One, I was able to participate in a little bit backstage, but a lot in watching the production of Mary Poppins. I thought it was phenomenal. It was great to see the community get back together. I attended 3 of the performances. All of them were very well attended. I wouldn't say like sold out crowds, but very, very big, large crowds. And for there being 6 performances, it was phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal. Cynthia, Carson, Celine, I know that Becky was the choreographer, and Mr. Pratt did the orchestra. It was great to see what our community can do. But a couple of things that I noticed and that I hope we can look at, and I'd like to talk about this at the next board meeting, is I feel like our performing arts need some attention. The building itself, the auditorium, there were some places that were a little bit of disrepair. I know that I attended a concert this last week for my 4th grader, and we had to have a high school student be the sound stage director. And so in my discussions with Miss Whipple and some of the other faculty, it feels like it might be time for us to put a little bit more of an investment, as Dr. Taylor so adequately mentioned here with our robotics team, into our performance arts program. And I would like to explore the opportunity. I know back in, I want to say it was 2010, Kelly, you probably know better than anybody in this room, when Roque Willard's position was cut because of the housing market boom going busting, and we really need to. We did away with that position because there was cuts, and I would like to look at us possibly bringing some type of position like that back. I think that we should invest in our performing arts at Sholo. I think that we did it on a shoestring budget with Mary Poppins, and we did a phenomenal job. I would love to see what we could do when we really invest in that. And so I would like to ask that our next board meeting we have a real discussion about the potential of looking at a position, bringing Mr. Willard's position back, maybe a district-wide performing arts director, and also looking at how we can improve the auditorium and not have high school students have to do the stage design and all that kind of stuff. So I'd like to first talk about that. And the reason why I think about this, and Kelly talked about this a little bit in our study session. She said she wanted to, we've need some mental health professionals in our midst, and we've put a lot of resources there in the last couple of years of getting counselors, and I know that there's an item on the agenda tonight for that. And I read this quote and I think about maybe there's an opportunity there that we're missing to help students, not just by having mental health counselors, but giving them an avenue to express themselves and to do that. And one of the quotes, it says, high art students earn better grades and scores, were less likely to drop out of school, they watch fewer hours of television, they're less likely to report boredom in school, had more positive self-concept. And John mentioned that earlier when we had the individual here. He asked me, he said, how do you feel about yourself? And they feel better. I know all of the students who participated felt better about themselves after production, and they were more involved in the community service. And so this is a tagline that says, with the nationwide trend to focus on playing catch up with STEM education is rational, practical, and absolutely necessary, it's important not to forget the enormous impact arts have on the overall education of our children. With the overwhelming preponderance of scientific evidence showing the positive effects of arts education, and specifically drama education, the question parents, educators, and policymakers should be asking themselves is not, can we afford to support arts education in school, but rather, can we afford not to? So That's the first one I would ask. And then the second one, Mr. Housley sent an email this week talking about stipends and their evaluation and the criteria that we have for those. I agree with everything that he said in his email. I would like to have a discussion at our next board meeting, possibly in the study session, to discuss stipends, their role, what the board real direction is. I know that there's been some movement at the high school with stipends. I just want to make sure that the direction that's happening is in line with the board's vision of what we want. I know that back in November and December, we were kind of tasked with dealing with attendance stipends, and that was kind of laid all at our feet to decide and deal with. And now I feel like the stipends they're having at the high school I haven't had a lot of input in that and a lot of direction, I guess. And so I'd like to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that whatever is occurring, because I don't have an update on that, is happening in a manner that the board is completely in support with. So I'd ask that the second item be that the stipends that are currently being evaluated, we can have an in-depth discussion about that next board meeting.
Absolutely. They're all being currently evaluated. And so the plan was to have that on when we have that evaluation completed to bring to you, and we'll have that by next board meeting anyway.
Great.
So
thank you.
I had an item that I wanted us, I don't know if the other board members had received a letter concerning our soccer field at the high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like for Mr. Helsley to please look into that. From what I understood from the memo is that during the football camps, we are basically running all over the soccer field, and we're not repairing the soccer field when it comes time for the soccer season, which I believe runs at the same time concurrently with football. Mm-hmm. But we're not using the football field when we have said football camps, but we're using the soccer field. So if you could kind of look into that and see.
Can I give you a follow-up? I don't mean to cut you. Doc, the email, the person who sent the email sent this email in regards, I believe you sent it to Mr. Larson today. Mr. Larson, please disregard my email. I was remiss in gathering enough information as it relates to these issues. The issues have been resolved, and my apologies for engaging the board on this tenuous issue.
Thank you. Don't need a board agenda item for that then. You can scratch it.
Anything else? No? Item 4.1, approval of overnight and out-of-state travel. Mr. Housley.
I'm sorry, let me get back to the board agenda. Mr. Hall is recommending the approval for Mrs. Blum, Mrs. Podol, Mrs. Alsobrook, Mrs. Schimmel, Mrs. Bishop, Ms. Reedhead, and Mr. Frost to take 130 fifth grade students to Friendly Pines Cap in Prescott next year.
I hope you can go next year,
In
Mr. Hall.
2022, March 23rd through the 25th. That's funded the same way it has in the past. Mr. Marchant recommends the approval of Melissa Brimhall, Miriam Wallentine, Shelby Boyer, Katie Hapgood to take the varsity volleyball team to a team camp at Dixie State University in St. George. That's July 11th through the 15th. He also recommends the approval of Jerry and Tanya Butler to take the academic team to Chaco Canyon National Monument in New Mexico on May 17th, 2021. Yes, that's just next week. Mr. Marchant also recommends the approval of Mike Brogan and Christine Francis to take the high school girls basketball team to a camp in Grand Junction, Colorado, June 13th through the 17th. They have attended that before. Mr. Marchant also recommends the approval of Michael Ellsworth to take the freshman boys basketball team to a camp in Grand Junction. That's June 27th through July 1st for your consideration this evening.
Madam President, I have a comment to make about this. I wholeheartedly recommend the Camp Friendly Pines, but I've been told that there's a rule now that there's no pranks on this overnight trip, and I can't completely agree with that because I think I'm going to be attending this next year, and I don't think that rule is very fair. So I'm going to ask that rule be stricken before
that will be because you're prone to pranks.
Yes, somebody sent me it and said I think this is the Brant Clark rule. So. But I will move to approve the overnight and out-of-state travel.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Did you attend this when you were a kid?
Miss Hall could get up here and tell you about some of the pranks that were anonymously pulled on her and her campers. So, but they still have yet to be proven.
Only on the years.
Yeah, go figure.
There's no
correlation there.
no
at all.
substantiating evidence.
Here, I won't grant.
It hasn't been proved beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay, item 4.2, approval of Ames Web Plus Universal Literacy Screener and Sally Schwitz dyslexia screener. I can't. I'm worried I'm dyslexic, just how it's printed there. So,
Oh, my word. Jamie, do you have anything extra to share on this?
have we used this one? Jamie, have we used this before? Is this new?
Ames Web Plus, yes. Shall I say with is new because
Okay. Guys have any questions?
All motion we approve.
I'll second.
On favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.3, approval of IGA between CT, ED, and satellite for provision of career and technical education courses. Mr. Hosley.
Madam President, this is a general IGA that helps us to offer satellite courses through the CTED and also participate in those through the central campus, which is in Snowflake. So this is that agreement.
All motion we approve.
I'll second.
On favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any further discussion? Motion passes. Item 4.4, approval of summer literacy lab. Mr. Hosley.
Madam President, members of the board, we have a few of our faculty members here to share with you the outline of this summer literacy lab, and we'll turn it to them for explanation.
We didn't know if you wanted our big study book, so we brought it for you.
Or a big book of reading screener.
I'm Heather Douglas. For those of you who don't know me, I work at Whipple Ranch Elementary. I'm the instructional coach there and one of a few of the reading specialists. You already know Corinne.
Yes, you just
our legendary gal here. So a couple months ago, we were talking about all the COVID and how far behind our kids are. And it's very concerning. And I want to first start out by saying thank you so much for letting us come to school, because I don't know where we would be if we were all online. So just that short amount of time that we weren't in school, you can see a dramatic difference. So we wanted to try and figure out how can we target these kids and really make a good impact during our summer school. So we came up with two goals. One of the goals was we need to provide a systematic and tiered reading program to our teachers. They don't all come out of college learning or knowing how to teach reading, and it's very complex. And so when you're in a K-3 school, I mean, we're the base for our entire school district, and if we don't get it right down at the bottom, then you see it all the way through. So that would be one of our goals, is to prepare the teachers and have them teach to the kids what they learn in our lab.
And that's kind of goal number 2, was to incorporate not only the teacher professional development, but also bringing the kids in. It's a 2-hour time frame for the kids, so they still get their summer, they still get to be a kid, go out and have fun, but they get the intense reading practice that, you know, from the teachers as they are learning and we're teaching. This is stuff that's not taught in your bachelor's degree. We're seeing kids come to us now with reading gaps that we've just never seen in the past. And so unless you have an advanced reading degree, this is just not something that teachers come equipped to do. So as we teach them, then they get to practice immediately on a student. So it's not like when you take a college class over the summer and then here comes fall. Oh, what did my teacher say I should do? Right there, they get that immediate practice. And then Heather and I will be there to support them going in and out of the classrooms, to answer their questions, come up with ideas, and work directly with them. So it's sort of a hands-on learning for the teachers as well as the students.
What I wanted to add to that is the curriculum that we'll be using is actually the same as teaching reading effectively. And Michelle Shoup and Susie Bray have taught that in the past to many of us. And the thing is they give you a ton of great information, but you don't get to go use it right away. And so our plan with this is you learn it and then you implement it. That way it sticks for them. We'll be using the Literacy Instruction and Assessment textbook, and we would also be using the 95% group assessment for a pre and post test, and also our Ames web, which you just approved. Thank you.
Okay, and then the plan is to train all of our teachers K-3. So this is sort of a 3-year idea in our heads of where we're going to train 10 to 12 teachers every summer in order to get everybody K-3 trained, and then that way they feel more prepared to actually go in and deal with all of these gaps that we're now seeing, instead of being like, I don't know what to do. I have all these kids that are lacking, and now they'll feel more equipped in order to help start.
Another alternate plan that would be available to teachers who can't or don't want to spend the time in their summer, ADE actually will offer the similar course using the same book. It's just throughout the semester, and they actually have to go in and do a lot of the implementation within their classroom or with their children. So it's the same format, it's just longer for ADE than it will for our summer school.
Would they be, would there be a cost involved with that for them? If they
So
chose that route?
with my understanding, what we talked about was that we would cover that cost as long as they would pass the course.
And then we will be tracking student progress using the 95% group screeners, the Ames web. So the teachers will get practice with that, with progress monitoring to make sure that the kids that are struggling are showing growth. And so they'll get training in that as well. And we'll be able to see from week 1 to week 4 how much growth we've seen in that.
So we wanted you to know what makes this model different from the ones previously is we're going to be really prescriptive. It's giving the teachers it's giving them time to gain the knowledge they need to implement, like we taught previously. And it's going to be a lab setting with people, with Corinne and I, who will be able to go in and have a background to be able to help these teachers. We want to implement them immediately so it sticks. It's just like teaching your students. It's the same for us as teachers. And by the way, teachers are the worst students ever.
That is very true. Everything we tell the kids not to do, we do. Yeah. So it's definitely a difficult situation there. We're also going to focus on some small group instruction. We're looking at like a 10-to-1 ratio, which is a lot less than you would see in a regular classroom. So we're hoping that that makes the teachers more comfortable learning these things with a smaller group, and also gives the kids the added benefit of getting much more teacher attention than they would during like a regular classroom setting.
So I want to add, some of you are probably wondering, why are we're only focusing on reading? Because reading is our foundation. And that's where we're seeing the biggest gaps. You can't pass your math test if you can't read the word problems. And so that will be our primary focus, is only reading. We will be assessing every child, and we will be putting them into groups of where they fall. So whatever they need, that's the group they're going to go into, so that we can be very prescriptive and move more students and meet them where they're at.
And then the other thing that we have is sort of a vision to extend beyond just the summer school is during what they're doing with us in the instruction time, we're going to have them tie in their learning to our open court curriculum. Because open court, if you open it up and look, there is a lot. I don't know how anybody gets everything done in one day. You just can't. There's so much there. So this is going to equip them to go through that lesson and pick out what's the biggest bang for the buck, what is vital that I need to teach my kids in class. So it should also extend into the fall when they go with their big regular group of kids. We'll have given them the skills to pick from open court, how to work with small center groups, how to monitor those kids that are at the neediest levels.
And lastly, just we need to get more tier 2 instruction within our classrooms. We do a lot outside of our classrooms with full out. We need to be able to give the teachers tools on how they can actually implement tier 2 interventions very quickly and not in a 30-minute time span, but in a 1 or 2 minute time span. And so those are some of the skills we want to teach them. Any questions?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I love this. Well done on anyone involved coming up with this idea. Way to figure out a way to help the kids that need it the most and help the teachers too. I think it's a great idea. I'm just curious how you're identifying the kids, and is it going to be, so I know you're probably taking some of the kids that will be in kindergarten. I know we're identified from the kindergarten roundup.
Yes.
And then, so will they be working with the kindergarten teachers, and then kids who are transitioning from second grade to third grade, will they go to their new school for the summers program or the old school?
It's all at Whipple.
It's all going to be at Whipple. But will they be working with the teachers that they will be, how will that work?
No. So they won't really be with a specific grade level teacher. The teachers are, we don't know where all these kids are going to fall with their reading skills. So we really don't have an identified teacher per group of kids, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
Okay.
And they will most likely work with more than one teacher throughout. I'm sure we'll have to do some rotating, and so they will get to meet, like the kids from second going to third will get to meet 3 of our third grade teachers. So chances are they could be in one of their classrooms. So they'll get to experience multiple.
And to answer your question on how we are choosing these students is we're using the Ames Web. That's state mandated. We use that, and it tells you, it'll categorize the children who are struggling, and we are focusing on those children.
And for the families who the children get invited, do the families have to commit to the entire time period? Or if the kid can only come for 2 weeks of it, will they still be able to participate, or do they have to commit to the whole month?
We're asking them to commit for
we'd
the full
like to
month.
see the full 4 weeks. Otherwise, it's just not as effective
That makes sense.
for the kid. And also, we forgot to mention on here that transportation is going to be provided. So,
That's great.
And that has been a really
Huge.
big hindrance in the past with summer school is working families. They would love to send their kids, but they can't get them there. So transportation is going to be a huge part of making this.
Thanks for putting it all together.
Yes,
We've-
it sounds
Way to think
wonderful.
outside the box. Yeah.
For several years, we've worried about reading and our issues with reading, and how are we going to improve that, believing that if we improve our reading, it'll improve everything, a little bit like you talked about. So this is great. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
giving us the time.
I'm excited. I'd like to move to approve the summer literacy lab as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.5, approval of English department book requests.
Madam President, members of the board, per state statute, the following books were placed for review, be used as part of the curriculum that they're doing at this time. And in 7th grade, Walker of Time, and then the high school English department request Into the Wild and Into Thin Air. I'm sorry. Those 3 books have been up for review if parents would like to, and we're bringing those for your consideration.
I have a question. Why do we have to do this? Like, is there a list of banned books that we have to approve everyone, or what? How does this come about?
No, if we basically whatever material that we use should be approved for use in the classroom. And so when we're talking about books that are going to have specific use as far as utilizing them as part of the curriculum, then we would have them reviewed and bring them to you. In fact, the legislature wants to have a more extensive review of, and last year they tried to get to where we had to bring in all online resources we would use to the board for approval. And fortunately that didn't go anywhere, but that's kind of the flavor that we're seeing from our state legislature. And so just for to bring these books because they're going to be used as part of the curriculum.
Okay.
We had them reviewed and brought them to you for.
Okay. I'll move to approve the English department book request.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.6, approval of summer school with teachers off contract pay.
Hey, Madam President, members of the board, this is specifically touches the high school's need. And so I would bring for you your consideration this evening, this consideration for summer school at the high school. That includes the lead teacher, Mike Hall, summer school teachers, Gary Whipple and Cherie Leatherwood, and some backup summer school teachers should something go wrong, Jeff Johnson and Jolynn Lubatten. And then Allison Bjornson for White Mountain Institute. Please note that these, both the Summer Literacy Lab and the summer school are all funded with Title.
I'll move to approve this summer school with teachers and off-contract pay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.7, approval of EDP proposal for school year 2021-22.
Madam President, we bring for your consideration this evening in the consolidation of our 3 through 12 EDP program to be located on the high school north campus within the 3 rooms and as outlined in the proposal inside the board agenda.
I will motion we approve.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I just want to say that as far as a board goes, for me, we try to hire people who are competent and educated and know their job and what needs to be done. So while I'm hesitant to a small degree, I very much believe in this group of leadership, and I want them to have the opportunity to be successful at this. And I'm hoping that I believe in them. I'm hoping that we have the opportunity to provide a better opportunity for these particular children to be successful. And I think they put the time and the effort into trying to figure this out the best way to do it. And for that reason, I want a motion to approve this, and then I would like us to, if we do approve this, I would like us as a board and as an admin team to do everything possible to make this successful for these children. So that's my thought on this.
I'd just like to say I've struggled with this one, just because of I respect all of the individuals who work with our special needs students. I know that it's a very difficult job. I've talked to Ms. Marsh about it extensively over my time on the board. I feel like a lot of times it's not a job, it's a calling for all of the people who are involved, and they really they deserve everything that John's talking about. They deserve our respect, our admiration, and our trust. And I agree with John 100%. We hire people who are competent and able, and we put a lot of trust in them. And the reason why I've struggled with this is because I worry about the volatility of the individuals who are in the EDP program. And while I was given some very good answers and some very competent answers, there's just something in the back of my mind that worries me. And that's what it really is. It just, I worry that I would feel a sense of personal responsibility if I voted for something and one of our little guys got hurt, or a little girl. And that's where I know we can't say it's going to be 100%, but I just worry about that. And you've done great things to help alleviate some of that concern, but I haven't been given I don't feel 100% that I could vote in good conscience for this, and that's where I still am struggling, and I don't think that more knowledge is going to help me. I don't think that, you know, and it has nothing to do with the professionals that we have or anything like that. It's just something inside me that causes me pause, and I think sometimes we need to follow that, and I feel like my instinct has been good throughout my life to help me get to the point where I'm at, and that's why I just feel like I go back to that. So.
I think I can see where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Having toured both facilities, I could say if I had a third grader who's going to be in one of them, I have faith that the choices that they're making, that the kids will be safer in the new way that they want to do it. Mm-hmm. They pointed out a couple of issues that the way it's working currently at the junior high that I think are more of a concern than what the concerns would be having them over at the high school. Mm-hmm. And when I met with them, I was really impressed by how much they're really trying to make the best environment possible for those kids. And they really care about those kids and they want the best for those kids. And they're the ones who know them better than we do. Mm-hmm. And they're not making this choice because it's what will be easy or because it'll save money. They're doing it because they think that's what's going to be best for the kids. Yeah. And I think that's what we all want too. So I'm going to support what they think would be the best for those kids because they're the ones who know them the best.
Mm-hmm. I can respect that.
One of the things that I enjoy about being part of a board is having multiple people with different ideas and different thought processes. And I want you to know, each one of you to know that I really respect you and your thoughts and your feelings. And I would in no way ever want to discount anybody's feelings on how things go. But one of the other things that I really love about being a board is even if I'm on the nay end of a vote, but it passes, my responsibility as a board member is to get in line and support that and help that be as successful as possible. So either way that this goes, my hope would be that we could all do that. And not just in this, but in all of our votes.
Any further discussion?
Did you second it?
I did.
You did second it. I just wanted to say I have really personally struggled with this item a lot because of having the third graders amongst high schoolers, but I believe in our staff and I believe in those who are presenting this and to do the right thing and to have the kids' best interests at heart and their best educational success. So I would just ask that if this does pass, just please get back with us in a few months. Just let us know how it's going because I know that I too struggle like Brant does. And I have an internal feeling like, oh my goodness, I shouldn't do it. But then I also feel like I have to trust you. And I do. And I believe in you. And so if it passes, I hope you will go forth and make it successful and do the kids good. And so thank you.
Okay. A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion passes. Item 5.1, approval of new and revised positions. Housley.
I think it's
I think you
resignations.
Oh, I'm sorry. Approval of new and revised positions, isn't it?
On 5.1,
Yeah, 5.1.
resignations, retirements, and
Hers is different.
Mine's 5.2
Are you
for,
serious?
Resignation, retirements, and
we have to do
terminations.
5.1.
Stacey, you're special.
I know. I'm not dyslexic. It's right on there. Okay.
Glad we approved that. We're going to send you first.
Which one do you want to do? You want to do how you have it or how I have it?
I don't even know how you have it.
Are you in?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so 5.1, approval of new and revised position.
How did yours happen?
I suppose you're messing around with it. We've been here since.
Ours says that's 5.
You want to look at that one?
Want me to do that one?
Stacey, is it
Yeah, I would.
Okay, 5.1, approval of resignations, retirements, and terminations. Mr. Housley.
Madam President, members of the board, for your approval this evening. There are a number of resignations, retirements, and terminations, and they are available inside the board docs as an attachment for public view. But I would bring those for your consideration this evening.
I'll move to approve the resignation, retirements, and terminations as outlined in 5.1.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.2, approval of new hires, renewals, and transfers. Mr. Hosley.
Madam President, members of the board, there are a few for your consideration this evening. A certified contract renewal, Tyson Adams, and then there are the administrative staff, Vanessa Beecroft, Hal Clark, Jeff Houston, Jamie Ramsey, Sean West, Rebecca Clark, Charlotte Cosgray, Debbie Hall, Ben Marchant, Ryan Taylor, and Ashley Robertson. And then there are others. There's a long list in the certified. I'll spare you reading all of those, but those are in the board docs there, as well as there is a letter from Mr. Hall stating that he will be returning to the district from ESI. He never left, but he was, as a retired member of our staff, he had to be through contract services or away from Arizona State Retirement for a year, and he stated that he will be returning back to us. So I'd like to bring those for your approval this evening.
I had a question on Mr. Hall. How will his salary be derived at, and will the board be a part of the process in negotiating that salary?
So when he comes back, the policy is defined in the return to work policy. He'll be able to come in with whatever the established is or whatever establishment of a raise would be or whatever that would be. And then that would, then he would choose between 73% and 80% of that based on, that has to do with, that's any retiree, whether it's him or whoever might be coming back to the district. And that's based on whether they choose healthcare or not.
Okay, and will he receive his years of service as part of that? I mean, when you are negotiating it, will you take into account his years of service?
It goes back to where his salary was plus whatever. If there, let's say if there was a raise, if you approved a raise for administrative staff, it would go back to where his salary was previous plus the raise, and then 80% or 70% of that, determining on that where that falls.
Okay.
The other piece, when a employee returns from ESI, there's other vendors that do the same thing, but ESI in this case, when they return from work, the district has to pay the alternative contribution rate, which is the contribution rate to state retirement. Even though they're retired, we still have to contribute back to Arizona State Retirement. The employee coming back doesn't have to contribute. So we pay the alternative contribution rate, which, Vanessa, what is that out now?
10.12%.
It's a little bit less than what?
A little bit, yeah,
staff.
a little bit less than we would pay for a normal staff member, which is 12.22 or something. But it's significantly higher. 3 years ago, it was 7.5%. Now it's 10.22%. So,
Thank you.
yep.
You're expensive.
But you're worth it.
I was going to say that. They didn't give me a chance.
Sorry.
I'm going to finish my own stuff.
You were too slow.
It's like I'm working with comedians.
For your approval this evening, Madam President.
I'll make a motion to approve the new hires, renewals, and transfers as presented.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.3, approval of substitutes. Mr. Hosley.
Madam President, in your board docs there is a list of substitutes for renewal for next year. We would ask that you would graciously approve those substitutes. They're much needed.
I'll move to approve the substitutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.4, approval of stipends, volunteers, and event workers. Mr. Hosley.
For your approval, Madam President, members of the board, Peter Schulten as a event worker, Randy Maddox as the Linden secretary volunteer, and then Heather Stahl as an event worker for your approval this evening.
A motion to approve the stipends, volunteers, and event workers as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.5, approval of summer workers. Mr. Hosley.
Madam President, for your approval this evening, we have maintenance and grounds, some summer bus drivers, and then summer child nutrition workers. You notice the list for summer child or nutrition workers is extensive. Some of them may work sometime, not all the time, but having a list that we can pull from when we bring in, we have summer food program, we have football camps that have part of that, and other things happening around the district that they may not always be available, so we wouldn't be using all of them all the time.
Where are we having our summer programs? If you're going to go get lunch somewhere, where are you going to go?
There'll be, I believe we're still at Nicholas Homestead as one of the sites. I think the pool is still one of our sites. And then I think we are anticipating doing something in the Clay Springs Pinedale area, something in the White Mountain Lakes area. And then we have in the past, we're still evaluating, I believe, the effectiveness of it. We have been providing it at George Washington, which is a charter school in Snowflake. So we can do it in all of those places. And remember that Summer Foods is free to any child up to 18 years old. So, and they don't have to be members or residents of Sholo or even in our school district. It is open to any child that age.
I'll move to approve the summer workers.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.6, approval of new and revised positions.
Madam President, for the help of clarity, we just asked that we would change the term substitute bus driver and rename the position to relief driver. That is more commonly known in the transportation world, I guess, as an acceptable term. So we would ask for that change in title.
A motion we approve.
Go ahead. I motion to approve the new and revised positions as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6.1, approval of emergency adoption of policy IKFB graduation exercises. Mr. Hosley.
Madam President, this was signed by the governor and asked to be implemented as an emergency adoption. So we have it before you. Basically, what this allows for, it says a school district governing board, charter school governing body, or any public school may not prohibit a student who is a member of a federally recognized Indian tribe or who is eligible to be enrolled as a member of a federally recognized Indian tribe from wearing traditional tribal regalia or objects of cultural significance at a graduation ceremony. For the purpose of this section, objects of cultural significance and traditional tribal regalia include an eagle feather and eagle plume. And so we bring that for your adoption this evening.
Has it been an issue?
It's somewhere in the state it has. In order for it
Not
to
for us though, right?
I feel like
I haven't experienced that issue. I think those who have wanted to wear it during our ceremonies have been allowed.
I motion to approve the emergency adoption of policy IKFB graduation exercises as presented.
You second it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6.2, approval of proposed issues for consideration for the 2022 political agenda.
Madam President, this is the discussion that we had earlier during the work session.
You want to share back what we talked about, Randy? You have it.
Yeah, adequate funding for fully funding kindergarten and SPED, local control, public accountability of taxpayer dollars, and approve outcomes for all students.
You missed one. One more?
I don't remember anymore.
Four? What'd you say, Kelly?
I don't remember
You got one
anymore.
more? You don't remember anymore?
Those are the ones we talked about. We just highlighted a few bullet points. But
You guys have, do you have one more?
No.
Kelly?
Wasn't it student outcomes or something like that?
That was one.
Did you say that one? Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. Spaced it out, I guess.
About hold school districts harmless for significant enrollment losses for 2021-22 school year.
Perfect. I think that's a great addition.
Okay. All right.
I make motion to approve.
I will second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6.3, discuss and approve to suspend mask policies. Mr. Housling.
Madam President, members of the board, earlier in the school year, as we progressed through COVID, we knew that things would change quickly with the executive orders, and you gave me the opportunity, should changes in executive orders happen quickly, that I could respond without board consent at that time. And so when the governor removed the mask mandate, we announced that we were removing the mask mandate. And this is, but we still have these in policy, and I'd like to bring them to you this evening for a formal consideration of suspending these policies as to the portions which require masks to be worn on school campuses by visitors, staff, and children.
I'll move to approve the suspension of our mask policies.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 7.1, approval of 2021-22 salary schedules. Mr. Housling.
Madam President, members of the board, for your consideration this evening, we have the number of salary schedules that are listed there, and you've had a chance to review those. Certainly we'll answer any questions that you have. I wanted to point out on the salary schedule for certified staff, teaching staff, what we are proposing, that there is a $725 increase to the base, which is just a little bit there. But one thing I wanted to add on to there is we've had more and more interest come about as far as national board certification, teachers coming in with a national board certification and asking, what do we do with that? We don't have anything currently in place. I looked around at other school districts like Chandler and Mesa, and what do they do? And it ranges anywhere from $500 if you have that on top of the base to maybe $1,000 in some circumstances. So you'll notice on that schedule that if someone came in who was nationally board certified, we, if approved, would add, that would be an additional $800 onto the.
And what does that mean?
There is another list of things that they do. They have to go through some rigorous, I believe they have to videotape their lessons and submit them, and there's a whole process that they have to go through to get a national board, national teaching board certification. And instead of just an Arizona certificate, now they are nationally board certified.
Like accredited. And okay, got it. Thank you. A lot of work.
It's a lot of reflection. Together, work with kids, and make movement with your kids. Also, being a part of the district. There's a whole component about how you support this community.
It's a 2 to 4 year process. It's not something you just want to take a test.
And be done.
Alex has been at it now for a year.
Wow. Well, thank
Is
you.
Is this a bump up on top of their credit hours that they're taking during this time?
Yeah, so what would happen is if they came in and their years of experience and education points would be considered, and then whatever that fell out, then we would add an additional $800.
And so current employees who do have this certification will receive that on top of this $725?
Yeah, currently what was in place is it was a unique qualification point. So we were able to give a unique qualification point. So it gave them basically in that step down, it's about $697. It depends on which step it is. So you'll notice in the scale, we actually formalized that. So now every step is exactly the same, because before it was all over the place. So that's how it's been handled to this point, is just giving them a unique qualification point and adding that to there. But we like to define it just a little bit more. As you notice, we do have a number of teachers that are working on that national board certification. So we're going to need to make sure that we include that at some point into, now they finished it, what does that look like?
Mr. Housley, on the slideshow that you provided for the 2021-2022 budget proposal, salary and benefits, it talks about teachers. And there's one bullet point in there that says $10,028 in classroom site fund money, 60-40 split to remain. Of the 40%, $1,000 will be paid out in December in lieu of an attendance stipend. Can you explain to me what that means and how that's going to be allocated? And then the second follow-up question is, how does this all affect Prop 301 money?
The classroom site fund is Prop 301.
Okay.
And as we reviewed with the committee, we were looking at the different numbers, and really the committee fell to right around 9,000 was where they were following, and looking into the years, we wanted to, as we've looked at it, we put that 3-year marker there and wanted to make sure we were solvent through at least 3 years, then we can reevaluate on what we were looking at. So year 2, that we could be at about 8,000, and year 3 try to be at 8,000, and then reevaluate and see where we were going with that with the classroom site fund, anticipating that the revenue is not going to be where it is this year. This is an anomaly, putting some aside so we have a little bit of a rainy day fund, projecting students increasing, so that might affect it. We did a 2% projection over the years to project that, and also projecting out the number of staff that would receive it. This year it's 125, but in our projections we went up 127, then 129, and just anticipating either, because with increasing enrollment you'll probably have more staff that receive it. Also knowing that classroom site fund, because of the legislature, has opened up now to where others who are paid out of the 510 fund, the student support services can. I got the fund right?
2,100.
2,100. Sorry, too many numbers. And then they could be. Their recommendation of the committee was for at least this next year to keep it status quo, that teachers receive that, and I think that's a good sound recommendation. And then making sure that there's consideration as we move forward for what that looks like. As we continue to look at the numbers and really break it down, I felt comfortable, and Vanessa looking at it felt comfortable. We've talked in our other board meetings that we probably could go a little bit higher, and so there's the $10,028 recommendation for classroom site fund. What I would like to see, the committee seemed to like the fact that the way that it's been broke down in the past with the 11, 12, and 13 funds, 60% was into the salary, and they got it every 2 weeks, and 40% was based on goals. They liked that split still, thought there was still value in having goals, even though we don't necessarily need to break it out that way anymore. And so what we would like to see is goals developed by the 301 committee that will, at least one of them could be accomplished in December, and 1,000 of that 40% can actually come out in December. So that comes out, we can show that it's accomplished, and they won't have to wait all the way till the end of the school year for that full 40. That was the thought behind that flip.
Historically, we've been paying these out at the end of the year. Is that when we've been historically doing
60% comes in their pay every 2 weeks, and then the 40% comes after the goals were attained, which is the last pay of the school year. So usually first part of June, right at the end of this year, it'll be in June. But if we finished earlier than the 27th, it could possibly be so right in that time frame.
Okay.
Was this presented to the staff at all? Like, are they aware of what you were presenting and what you're recommending?
This was just presented or had a conversation around this particular piece with the budget committee that came and we met. It was shortly after last board meeting. We just talked about 301. In fact, that's where the recommendation comes. They didn't recommend 10,028. They recommended right around 9,000. But we feel like we can actually extend a little bit more and still stay solvent through year 3 with the projections.
And so the salary schedule that you presented us with, is that reflective of the 725 increase?
Yes, all the teachers would receive $725 increase to their base salary, which we also reflected that out in the base there. And then there would also be, I can't remember the number right offhand, but it's in front of you there, 1,500 and something in retention stipend, and that would come out at the end of September is kind of where we were targeting, right at the end of the first quarter, right before fall break.
And it's 1085.
1085. Okay. Yes.
Right. And it's not possible to do counselors. This is the first year. I know we talked about that in our other budget meetings, that counselors can have compensation.
It is possible that you could add counselors into that 301 in a variety of different ways. If you compensated them the same with as we're recommending for the teachers, then you'd need to consider having that looked a little bit differently, because you would be adding a different divider to the number. So that would take it up to about 131 staff you would be dividing it by. And I don't know that if that's the case, I could recommend 10,028.
That makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Was the budget committee invited to come and speak to us again today?
No.
Moving on to the paraprofessionals, we're looking at increasing them a stipend to 907 per year from 400. And 400 was that the attendance stipend from last year?
For Paris?
For Paris?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to 907 for them.
One thing that was talked about that was brought up in the budget committee, and I tend to agree. I don't know why the legislature omitted paraprofessionals, because they're not paid out of that code, so they're omitted from qualifying for 301 funds. I don't know why, because they're directly involved in student instruction, and so we felt like if we're going to do anything, we probably, how can we increase that? How can we give them a little bit of a bump? So that's where that came in.
So this would be their only increase for next year. We're not bumping up their base at all.
Right.
So the increase will come from the stipend.
Right. So there would be the quote unquote attendance stipend. I say that because we're still trying to figure out what the name's supposed to be, right? And then also the retention stipend, as you can see there, would be $725.
Did we ask all the classified staff if they preferred to have the attendance stipend versus money to the base? Okay. You knew I was going to ask that, huh?
And then we have it right here. Of the ones that responded, 100% said they would rather have a stipend twice a year.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
I think I'll just thank Shad and Vanessa. I know that this has been a lot of work for your team to do this, and I know that we've had a lot more discussions this year than we did in the past as far as the budget goes. And I know it's difficult to create a budget with the legislature that hasn't even created their own budget right now, and we're so dependent upon them. But I really appreciate the transparency and the meetings and the discussion and the process that has gone on this last year. It's been phenomenal, a lot better than in the past. I think that this is a great way to do it and to move forward. I think that it gave us as a board a lot better understanding of what the budget was and what we were looking at and gave us greater input into creating this. Thank you.
It's not perfect and it's not easy. It does take a lot of time. Everyone's got a pretty busy schedule, whether it's teachers or others who, anyone who might want to be involved. It does take a lot of time to do that. But sometimes, you try to meet as many needs as possible. Sometimes you can't meet all the needs. But just a reminder that we were looking based on what Vanessa's going to share here in a little bit, and she shared a little bit in the work session, is we don't know where the students are going to come from next year. We had 159 lost students this year, 40,000 in the state. But, I heard a report today that 300 new permanent residents moved to the mountain. Or 300 or 3,000 over the last year. I don't know if that means that they have kids or they don't have kids, or they haven't showed up in the schools yet. So I don't know what to anticipate for next year, but we are pretty conservative in wanting to make sure we don't add more than 300,000 in new expenditures. And so while it would be nice to touch everyone somehow, I think we've been able to accomplish that through a retention stipend and looking at what that attendance stipend looks like. We don't feel like we have to completely get rid of the attendance stipend. We can do some things that are a little more creative and try to meet some people, at least somewhere, until we can recover the student.
Tracy was mentioning earlier how we were not able to include counselors in the 301, and I noticed in the counseling for the attendance stipend, you're wanting to move that from to 2259 from 2081. Is there maybe some way we could add a little bit more there that would maybe kind of fill the gap a little bit that they aren't receiving? 301? I don't know. Just a
Throwing
question.
money around like confetti.
Yeah. Well, and
I think it's important that they don't get left out. It was a long time, I think, just until like 3 years ago that they got a little raise, and they work with our students every day.
Right.
It's not like they don't have access to them. So I would like to see them get some 301 money or more in the attendance stipend, something.
The retention stipend would be 1614 and the attendance stipend would be 2259.
Right, but that's like 100 and what? Can't do math in my head right now, but 2259 from 2081. Who's a mathmatician?
I'll give you.
Under 200.
Thank you. It's too late.
I'll give you. Let me just pull this up real quick off, because what we wanted to make sure, and I know as we've had our discussions, we wanted to make sure that we had an equitable application of how we considered them, right? And so when we looked at the retention stipend for counselors in particular, if you take not the retention stipend, let me go over to, we applied the same litmus to the, because I don't like the word attendance stipend, I call it performance pay, but I put it in, as I put that in here, then if you look at the way that we applied that litmus, you take the base counselor pay, which we use the base to generate whatever that looks like. You take the base counselor pay, and it was 28%, 2.8%, which brought us to the 2259. That's how we applied that. So it was a little bit. We only did 2% on the retention stipend, so it was 2.8% for the attendance stipend. So that's how it was applied. We certainly could look at that however you would.
So we're not making a decision on this tonight, right? Are we going to have another study session on this? Because I don't know that I'm prepared to.
The only thing that really is important that we approve tonight is
Certified?
The certified. We would like to have the teachers and the administrators so we can hand those contracts out early next week.
Because I would like us to talk a little bit more on administrators too, and maybe I noticed that there was some expanded job descriptions and adding some new duties and things like that that I think we need to probably discuss a little further But I will make a motion to approve the certified salary increases for the 21-22 school year as presented.
Kelly, in your motion, are you just, is that the only one, not any of the other included salary schedules?
Well, I think they're the most important ones, aren't they? Aren't they not?
They are ones that we need to have there. We would like to get those contracts out next week.
If you're going to get them out next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Those and the administrators are the two that we'd like to get out. There are some other further considerations that we're just not ready to present the numbers for the classified portions yet, and the other portions of stipends, but
right.
That's.
So what's the wordsmithing on this?
So Kelly, we have a motion on the table to approve, I believe,
certified.
Kelly, just the certified teaching, the certified teachers salary schedule and
Contract
offers as stated.
For 21-22 school year.
I'll second that as they've been presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Can we have a meeting next week so we can leave everyone else hanging?
Yes, I would love to do that too.
Are we going to talk about administrators
At that time or tonight?
tonight? Or
Whatever you want to do. I'm fine with however you want to do it. I don't mind talking about
It
it.
is on the agenda item. We can consider that individually, I suppose.
have these salary schedules been presented to the principals and to the directors, and are they in agreement with the amounts that have been presented?
I don't know if they're in agreement with them. They haven't said it, that they certainly can say it, but we did share them in our, I don't remember which meeting it was, last meeting, the meeting before. I can't remember. When was it? 2 meetings ago? 3 meetings? I don't remember.
Well, I would like to make sure that they're all in agreement, and maybe now because you have everything solidified and on paper, that they can actually see what the numbers are, make sure it's agreeable to them. I hope that the administrators know that we realize that there's been some disparities in their increases, I believe, over the last couple of years. And so we've asked Mr. Housley to kind of bridge that gap and bring rates of pays and salaries in line with other districts in surrounding areas and in a fair and more concise manner. And I think you've done a really good job with that, and I thank you for that. I think you've done a great job overall. But I really want to just make sure that they're okay with it and that they're happy with it and can live with it and hopefully stay with us.
So the way that it is outlined there, as you'll see, as you saw in the breakdown in the presentation, just so you can have some information in front of you. As Kelly just stated, you've asked me to reestablish what those look like. There was a factor in the salary schedule determination that was always a moving target. So the factor was average teacher salary, and so that factor was then indexed to create the scale that was there. The problem with using average teacher salary is that if you have 5 retirees this year and they leave and we hire brand new teachers, it will significantly impact the average teacher salary. So we needed something that was more stable, and that was the teacher base salary. And so that's where we use that teacher base salary and then index from there to recreate the schedules as presented. The other thing that we felt like as we looked at this is that currently the organizational chart is a flat line straight across, and there needed to be, based on the duties that were going to be taken on or given or added to their plate, that we needed to restructure the organizational chart. So that was something that we were doing at the same time. The administrators would be placed on the new base of the established salary schedule or be granted up to 5% of a raise. And that would be applicable if where the salary schedule was moved to, that they actually didn't increase 5%. For example, if I was making, if I was a principal and I was making 60,000 and the base moved to 59,000, that wouldn't be, or it moved to 61,000, it wouldn't be 5%. So we would move them that way. So that's how that was applied. And then you see the retention stipend and also the attendance stipend there that are all part of that consideration. So certainly any other questions that you might have. So it was what an administrator would have seen is at minimum a 5% raise. In some cases, it could have been more if the salary schedule was adjusted. So the changes in those that we bring in, the changes in those scales, I want to make sure that we share those with you so that you get a feel for what those are. Excuse me. So a elementary school or a school principal that has less than 300 students, that was usually lumped into just a school principal. Now it's outside, so that because we have an opportunity, we have White Mountain Institute Online, both of which, if they grew over 300 or grew to a point where we needed a principal, would fall under that 300 perhaps or over. Linden falls into that category. We have an elementary principal category, junior high school, junior high assistant principal, the director 1. That is typically our director of IT, director of child nutrition. Those fall under there. Director 2 is now its own category. We asked that the athletic director earlier be considered as a director 3, but as we've adjusted those things, it falls more firmly in a director 2 by itself. There isn't any other that would fall into that. Director 3, and excuse me, those are things like would fall under grants and ADM specialist. That's the position that I shared with you. Currently, we have someone doing the grants and curriculum, and we're shifting responsibilities to overview ADM, which is a revenue stream, to make sure that that was the recommendation. High school assistant principal, and then executive director. That's a change in title. There would be 3 of those: executive director of Ed Services, K-12. Their specific oversight would be over academics and curriculum, supporting teachers and principals in helping drive student success in the classroom. Executive director of special services, and executive director over finance. So formally, that was the special ed director and business manager. So those are changes in titles with that. And then so those are the scale or the changes as you had mentioned. Changes to the organizational structure, and those titles then develop a structure that looks more like an organization. Any other questions? I don't know. Mr. Clark had brought that question up.
Grant, do you have any more questions?
No.
So can we look at a time for next week that maybe we could all meet? Brent, you have a tough schedule, and John? I will be out of town on Monday, but other than that, I'm good.
Tuesday afternoon and Thursday.
I'll be out of state Monday and Tuesday, and then I work Wednesday, Thursday.
What time do you work?
6 to 6.
Would you be open to doing this 6:15, 6:30 meeting? Bless you.
Like tonight, And I was going to say something smart. I like be away from my family until 9 o'clock at night.
Sorry. No.
I would be begrudgingly willing to possibly maybe.
Like what evening? What evening do you propose, John?
Wednesday, Thursday. I tell my wife I take her out on a date on Friday.
There you go. Better. Cattleman's, prime rib, you know, something really good.
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so one of those days in the evening would.
Mr. Brandt,
Yeah.
We'll bring you dinner.
those
How's
days
that?
work for you?
Tuesday night I can't. I have a city council meeting.
Reading my small.
Wednesday day, it doesn't look like days will work for John, right?
He doesn't get off till 6.
I can do probably Thursday night. I'm looking at my boss in the back
I know,
of
and
the room.
I'm looking at her to give her a thumbs up, like, yeah?
Say yes or no. I don't have my glasses on. So.
I think she said yes.
Thumbs up for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That looks like Thursday night I'm available.
I don't know that I have a choice.
Mr. Housley, are you available Thursday? I guess we forgot to ask
He sounded
you.
excited about it. Okay, Thursday, 6:15, 6:30. What do you want, John?
Get a soda
Fine.
first.
Doesn't matter.
Okay,
Won't matter.
won't matter.
Here?
Okay.
Is this where we can do it here at the council
Do it
chambers?
at
Is
the
that
dis-
possible?
district
See if
office?
it's open. I'll have to check with the city.
Thursdays. Is it planning and zoning on Thursday?
No,
Or
they're on
Monday?
Tuesdays.
Oh, Tuesdays, on the off days of council. Maybe we can. That'd be great.
You guys ready to move on to
What time did we say?
Thursday,
6:15?
6:15? Okay.
I am.
Item 8, consent. Oh, wait,
That's a half-hour
Sorry,
meeting,
there's
right?
some missing on mine. Huh?
I'd say hour.
Why am I missing all these? Okay, item
To an hour, okay?
That may be all you'll get.
Okay, you got it.
Item 7.2, approval of 2021 revised budget. Mrs. Beecroft.
So I've attached there the actual budget revision for May. I'm gonna go back up to my summary of the budget for the year. Oh, sorry, it's late. Okay, so for the May budget revision, I just wanted to kind of recap the year. I know we've talked about a lot of these items a lot, so just give a quick review. Touch on the COVID relief funds, the distance learning reduction, the enrollment decline, changes over the year of expenses and revenue, and then the bottom line for the district. So just to recap, the COVID relief funds that have come our way. Initially, we had ESSER 1, which was made available this school year in the amount of $633,000 and some. A lot of that money was used for sanitation, PPE, COVID type items, masks. A lot of Chromebooks were ordered to accommodate the distance learning. ESSER 2 is going to be $3.1 million. We are in the process of completing all the paperwork and getting that money ready to be requested. ESSER 3 will be forthcoming. They have an estimated amount of $6.9 million. That's not set in stone yet. That should be fairly soon that they officially allocate that. The enrollment stability grant was $482,000, which for us was a lifesaver. That went straight to M&O to help cover salaries and benefits, totaling so for the district a little over $11 million. So I think that's fantastic for a district of our size. So as we discussed a lot, I know everyone is trying to be very strategic, make the best decisions for the money, get the biggest bang for our buck. Specifically, one of the things that is on the near horizon in talking to
the custodians, we need updated equipment. I mean, they've worked really, really hard with a lot of old, outdated, defunct equipment. So I'm excited to hopefully by the end of the month get some things encumbered, new equipment for them. It's going to make their jobs a lot more efficient. We have Tom Jackery, who works with Hilliard. That's who a lot of our sanitation and custodial supplies come through, majority of them. He actually used to be an employee of the district. He's given a lot of information. They're going to do a complete study or report on the different square footage of the school based on staff numbers, student numbers, to give us a specific recommendation on the number of custodial staff that is needed per site, considering the new equipment and the efficiencies that will create, just making their jobs a lot easier and more efficient. So that's on the horizon, hopefully in the next couple weeks, month.
And where will that be funded from?
That will use up the rest of ESSER 1.
Okay, so we can use ESSER money for that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. And, depending on what all we look at, it may move some into ESSER 2, which I think is necessary for what we need to do to do a complete upgrade of what we have. So that's kind of a recap of the ESSER money. I know that the admin and everybody's been involved in projects and ideas, and so those will be discussed in more depth. So quickly to touch on the distance learning reduction. It was funded as Arizona online instruction. There was some rules that were given, 95% funding for full-time, 85% funding for part-time. The rules were a little tricky. The reduction is based on an executive order. The current reduction that we have is $107,000. We have to do one more analysis at the end of the year after the last day of instruction. I'm hoping that we hold steady and don't decline, maybe even improve a little, but that will be forthcoming. And then just a little snippet specifically for the enrollment decline. Statewide, the ADM declined a little over 40,000 students. That's students that just disappeared. They left public education. They didn't go to the distance learning or online instruction. They're doing a homeschool plan or an alternative schooling.
Just keep in mind that 40,000 left public education. That includes charter schools. So they didn't just go to charter. They left.
Yeah. Specifically for Sholo, was about 156 students. And per pupil, the funding impact was just almost 700,000. So you can see it's a significant amount. So we're optimistic, but cautiously optimistic. I mean, I'm hoping they all come back, but that's just something it's a projection. So, so changes in expenses like we talked about, COVID, the sanitation, the supplies, the COVID sick leave payout for our district was a little over 12,000. Technology, we spent a lot, like I said, on the Chromebooks and trying to get things in the hands of the students. A little bit savings on sub teachers, and then vacancies that we didn't fill, which with the reduction in ADM, and it was tight. I know it was a struggle. So we just did the best, and I appreciate the admin and the staff just doing the best that we could do through the year. So changes in revenue. I already mentioned the distance learning cut. Obviously, the ADM decline. Positive is all that the money that's going to come for our district through COVID to the ESSER money. So bottom line, and I'm very pleased with this. It's better than what I expected. So over the last couple of years, our district, at the end of the year, you have the opportunity. Well, you're supposed to in May, if you have maintenance and operations and there's a slight deficit, but you have capital, you're supposed to move the money to equalize so that all of your funds stay in the black. We weren't necessarily doing that, so we'd end the year with a deficit, mostly in capital. So I've had to go back and redo those, and this is how it equates out. So to begin the year, we had a slight deficit in M&O, a little surplus in capital, with the deficiencies that we have in M&O from the decline in ADM. Of the 700,000-ish that we received in capital, 550,000 was moved to M&O to cover our expenses there. So that's not a good trend. We want to keep capital in capital so that we can buy, that's your furniture, equipment, computers, all the stuff that people want. So I'm very pleased with that. It was a very lean year. I know it was tough. There was frustration, but hopefully, next year we get the students back and we can open up it a bit more. The food service, I'm still diving into that data. We're going to do an audit, see what's going on with the food service. Obviously, your revenues, your expenses have to align. So that's something that will be forthcoming, more information on that.
Vanessa, are we having someone talk next month about our audit, financial audit?
The audit's still ongoing. I did get an extension from the Auditor General to June 30. I have one big project report that they're waiting on. I'm having a consultant help me just because this is very overwhelming. And so he is about to finish up with that. And I think that's one of the last items they're waiting for. So that will be forthcoming, and they will come and do a presentation on what our district, what steps we should take.
Thank you. I know it's been a tough year for you, so thank you for all that you've done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I will make a motion to approve the 2021 revised budget as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Finally. There it is. Okay. Item 7.3, approval of 2021 sole source procurement. Mrs. Beecroft.
So this is just kind of a formality. We use vendors throughout the year. And typically if they're over $10,000, then we have to go out and get 3 quotes just to make sure we're doing due diligence. We're looking and making sure that we're spending the money in the wisest way. These specific vendors, there's not the other 2 quotes to get. So it's considered a sole source procurement. The 95% group is what the ladies were mentioning earlier for their reading. It's a vendor that we use a lot. Pearson, they do a lot of testing, things like that are specific, for SPED, as well as other programs. And then Swivel is just a device that's going to hold the iPad. So if you're teaching, it basically holds the iPad and helps to record, and it's automated.
Do we get more than one of those? They seem to be really popular with the teachers.
I'm not sure how many we're ordering. We're ordering a little bunch.
Okay. Thanks, Jamie.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020-21 sole source procurement as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 7.4, approval of IGA purchasing cooperative.
So and these are probably one of the last that I do. The purchasing cooperatives, I'm just trying to get our foot in the door on the main ones that we use. But the one GPA is one that covers a wide number of the vendors that we already use. So it's going to make procurement a lot easier, especially for your big ticket, the construction, the technology, even the software. We're going to upgrade to iVisions, which will be hosted by Tyler, and they're a member of the cooperative, so we're going to save a little bit there. So the one GPA is the additional cooperative that we're going to join.
I'll make motion to approve one GPA purchasing cooperative as presented.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That was really energetic, guys. Consent agenda, 8.1 through 8.4. Vanessa.
So for your review and approval, we have the ratification of expense vouchers, 8.2, ratification of the payroll vouchers, 8.3, the governing board minutes for last month's April 8th meeting. And then Brant, if you'd like to cover our donation.
Yeah, of course. So it looks like we were, Front Stream donated, is that $14 to the high school?
$14.
All right. The Shoal Youth Foundation made the following donations to Nicholas Homestead Elementary. $250 for the for the volleyball and soccer nets, $396.50 for music stands, and $1,000 for the 5th grade camp, and $853.50 for PE equipment. Rustic Mountain Dentistry donated $200 for the all staff celebration, and Janelle Wiltbank donated a piano to the high school musical program valued at $2,700. So I want to thank all of our community members who donated to our programs. That's phenomenal.
I'll motion we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.